So hi Liam, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, had my second COVID jab today, so feeling very positive.
How's your arm feeling?
Yeah, it's fine. I can't feel a thing apart from
Yeah.
ready to get a haircut and ready to get back in a pub garden somewhere.
Yeah, excitement is the
Yeah.
main feeling. That's so good. It's nice to see people kind of finishing the course now. So you'll be able to go in anywhere you want with your vaccine passport.
Yeah, it's in my phone.
Is it?
Yeah, well, the little card is, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant you had an app or something. I was like, I need to get that. Cool. So is it all right if you just give a little bit of a background of like where you're based and which specialism you're on, and kind of just to let people know what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a third year STP trainee, and I'm specialising in radiotherapy physics, and I'm based at the Ipswich Hospital. I've got about 28 days left to submit my dissertation, and then pretty soon after that, it's going to be the IAC. So it's all coming at once, but I'm excited for the challenge of the next couple of months.
Yeah. How are you finding it all?
I love it. I've thoroughly enjoyed this program. I've had so many opportunities given to me. I've met some really fabulous people and watched them do some interesting things. I've learned a lot, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've been to the Christie Hospital twice, once in person and once virtually. I've been to the National Physics Laboratory, which is like the home of physics in the UK. I've been to the Cavendish Laboratory. I've participated in national dosimetry audits. It's just the list is just innumerable. I'll always be grateful for the STP for these opportunities.
That's so good. It is incredible how much they can squeeze into 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe at expense of our sleep sometimes, but cool. So you're in third year and you're doing a So what was your dissertation on?
So I've been looking at a commissioning or sort of extended acceptance testing, really, of a treatment planning algorithm, which is what we use to calculate radiotherapy dose. I've been doing some tests on that relative to the data that we can measure to sort of show that it is clinically acceptable and we can start using it in our practice for radiotherapy. Shall I maybe backtrack a little bit and explain what radiotherapy is?
Yeah, I was going to come on to that next because what you just said, I'm just like,
Yeah. All a bit nebulous. So what it is it's using targeted doses of radiation to treat cancer. It is also, there is some benign disease that you can treat with radiotherapy, but predominantly it is all shrinking tumours with high energy X-rays. It's very, very old. Sort of the first patient was treated in 1896 with radiotherapy, but there's still there's a lot more to come. There's lots of exciting things on the horizon. There's a couple of posh teaching hospitals that have got their hands on some cool new toys like proton therapy and MRI guided radiotherapy. So there's lots on the horizon, and it's very much still evolving. But at its core, it's using X-rays to treat cancer.
That's really interesting. Right? I think for the physics and engineering, that's where I have like the least amount of knowledge. So just like hearing more about everything is so fascinating.
Yeah. Well, similarly, I mean, I don't know the first thing about genomics. So.
Yeah, I guess so. So tit for tat. So do you rotate, I'm guessing, around like other medical physics things and then specialise within radiotherapy in second and third?
Yeah, that's right. So medical physics, I suppose, is like it's got four kind of streams. You've got radiotherapy, which is the one that I'm on, radiation safety, which is a grossly oversimplified view is protecting patients and the public from overexposure to ionising radiation. And you've got imaging with non-ionising radiation, which is your magnetic resonance and your ultrasound, and nuclear medicine, which is where you inject radioactive material into a human body and then evaluate the distribution of that tracer using really cool cameras. They're all brilliant. That's one of the things I really liked about the STP program, is that I got to rotate through. I appreciate that's been tough for this year's trainees because of, but it was really good to get that holistic experience of the different specialisms.
Yeah.
And the four are kind of, there's quite a big overlap. Like, you can't do radiotherapy without knowledge of radiation safety, and so much of modern radiotherapy is imaging. You need, there's a real market, I think, for future professionals that can cross the boundaries between the four. I loved MRI as well. MRI was just fascinating. It's the closest thing to magic on earth, I think.
It blew my mind. Like, we had to do a bit of medical physics revision for one of our exams, and I still don't understand how that scanner works. I was like drawing all these graphs, like, what is going on? No. It sounds so interesting. Do you specialise within radiotherapy, or could you see like people for any different type of cancer, or would you kind of specialise within like the brain? Or
yeah, that's interesting. So I think as physicists, you would just be a radiotherapy physicist. You wouldn't ever go on to specialise in a different anatomical site. That tends to be what the oncologists do, like the doctors. If the physicist is kind of there as a scientific support service to ensure that the treatment is safe and effective. But then, I mean, if you worked at a radiotherapy centre that specialised in a particular site, you might get more exposure to a certain area of the body. Also, there are cancer disease sites that lend themselves better to radiotherapy than others. So, it's quite a mainstay in sort of breast and prostate cancer, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I haven't really answered that very well, have I? So.
No, it makes sense. Like, in a specialism, almost. Are you particularly patient-facing, or do you kind of work more with the machines?
Yeah, I'd say the majority of the work is not patient-facing. I don't think if you want to have lots of contact with patients, then in general, medical physics is probably not a great career choice for you. I think that the one where they would see the most is probably nuclear medicine, but physicists in general are in an office away from the front line, sort of doing having an oversight of everything that's going on in the department, rather than actually facing the patients on a day-to-day basis. One exception to that is here at Ipswich, we do thyroid ablation, radioiodine, and that is very much, you would have to. That's where the patients swallow a radioactive tablet, and then physicists would then have to go up and measure the radioactivity that's coming off that patient. And at some point, when it gets below a threshold, they can go home.
Radioactive little bubble.
So that's probably the one. That's probably the exception to the rule. I'd say in general, I certainly don't have much to do with patients.
Do you work with? You said that there's kind of cross-talk across the different specialisms. Do you have like other trainees in radiotherapy physics with you, or do you kind of work with trainees from the other specialisms a bit more?
So me, I've been quite fortunate here at Ipswich in that it's quite a small department, and I am the only trainee here. There may be other trainees in sort of other areas of the STP, like bioinformatics or something going on, but I'm the only medical physics trainee that's based in the Ipswich Hospital. But as part of the bigger trust, our radiation safety team are based down the road at Colchester, and I have had interaction with them through my rotations, and I know there are trainees down there. But my main interaction with other trainees is through the East of England Trainee Network. where I was physical sciences last year.
Oh,
Obviously, a terrible year to do that,
yeah,
but we still had fun nonetheless. So.
yeah. Must have been a strange change.
Yeah.
I'm part of like our board, but I just do the newsletter. And yeah, I think it must have changed so much since this time last year.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the point where we can have a few socials and things again,
Yeah.
and travel to see one another.
How have you found being the only trainee? You sounded quite positive about it, but I think I'd be a bit nervous.
Yeah, I think different people would respond to that in different ways. For me, it's been great because it's meant that I basically get one-on-one attention, and I'm very good at kind of kicking off when I need something approved or reviewed or signed off. I can be quite pushy, but I'm pretty good at that. I guess also I maybe came to the STP. I was slightly older, so being on my own hasn't actually phased me at all. I've very much enjoyed harassing my senior colleagues.
Yeah. I always feel a bit bad like sending my third chasing email like, oh, please can you turn this off or just send it back. What do you think your plans are afterwards? Do you think you'll stay within your department currently or look further afield?
I don't know. I think that's out of my hands because I don't know if there's actually funding available for them to take on another physicist. I certainly there's lots of projects going here that I would really like to get my teeth into. We've got a new machine going in 2022. We've just had a new CT simulator, and we've got a whole load of magnetic resonance radiotherapy equipment down the corridor. And so there's definitely lots of projects that I would very much love to get involved with and help in any way that I can. But it's not necessarily in my hands. I don't know if anything's in the pipeline. I've been kept in the dark.
Yeah.
I definitely will stay in radiotherapy, definitely.
Yeah, that's good. 3 years with a good.
Definitely.
Pardon?
I'll find a job somewhere.
Yeah. There's so many jobs going for healthcare scientists anyway. Sure you'll do it. Were you able to do an elective, or did it come, did the pandemic happen at just the wrong time?
I am still planning on doing an elective, actually. I've started it. Perhaps I was. It's not a traditional elective where you go away for 6 weeks and come back and report on it. I'm doing a kind of a literature review slash going to a couple of professional meetings online and feeding back to my department. So it's maybe slightly smaller than the traditional elective, but I still think it can be fun. The concept is to as I said, we've got this radiotherapy magnetic resonance equipment, and I'm just going to review sort of the literature and the consensus guidelines on how to integrate MRI into your radiotherapy planning workflow. I'm just going to do a literature review on that and attend a couple of professional meetings. So you can see it's kind of not quite formulated in my head yet, but I still intend to do them, even though
the foundations are there.
Sorry?
The foundations are there.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
So this is coming from someone that doesn't really get it fully. Is the use of MRI and radiotherapy to completely target it down to a very, very small specific area of the cancer? Is that not? Well, do you rely on X-rays at the moment?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just you said someone that doesn't know, and that's exactly the answer. At the moment, predominantly radiotherapy is planned. So we plan where the target, the doctor outlines where the target volume is, like the tumour that we want to treat. and we plan the radiation dose on a CT scan, which is great. You know, CT is a wonderful, wonderful thing, but it doesn't have the soft tissue contrast that magnetic resonance does. So the idea is that, but when we plan on a CT, we have to account for the fact that the patient might move on the treatment couch, or internal anatomy might move. The bowel is highly mobile, and all sorts of uncertainties in the delivery. So we have to apply a margin. And integrating magnetic resonance, the idea is, can we shrink those margins? Can we only treat what we want to treat instead of healthy tissue as well? And all of that requires a lot of physics input, so it's all very exciting.
It sounds interesting. It sounds like, I don't know, a buzzword, isn't it, is cancer. So I think everyone's got an interest in it to some degree. My question has just flown out of my head. So what was your background before the STP? Did you have a background in radiotherapy physics? Or?
I did my undergraduate I did my 4-year master's in physics, and I always had an interest in kind of medicine as well. Believe it or not, I used to watch a TV program called Scrubs. And I realised that I liked hospitals, I liked medicine, I liked the idea of science for patient benefit, sort of seeing some immediate application of the work that you do. But at the last minute, before I was thinking about applying for the STP back in 2014, and I decided, actually, you know what, I'm going to go do my doctorate first. So I ran off to Durham University to do a PhD in biophysics, which is related but not the same. And then had a wonderful time, but had enough of academia. So I made an application to the STP. Got some work experience down at Guy's and St Thomas, and yeah, that was great. The work experience down at Guy's and St Thomas, that's what sold me radiotherapy, because I spent a bit of time with the brachytherapy physicist down there, and I just thought, this is awesome. And then it wasn't even applying for medical physics; it was applying for radiotherapy.
Yeah.
So
how easy was it to get that work experience? I think it can be so difficult.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, at the moment, that's just out of the question, I suppose. But I just asked around, and I can't actually even remember how I got in touch with this. What was her name? Yeah, I got in touch with someone down at Guy's and St Thomas, and I think they were able to get professional development from looking after work experience students, and I got a really good exposure to all aspects of medical physics. It was really good.
That's so good. It's like gold. That's amazing that you were able to get it.
Yeah.
How have you found the uni side then, coming from a PhD back to a master's?
So I really enjoyed working on the MSc project. I really enjoyed it. Some of the how can I say this? Some of the elements of the academic program have become a little bit of it's almost like, they hold up a hoop, and it's, you have to ask how high.
Yeah.
And some of it, it's some of the organisational elements of it have not been as I would have hoped, and things are organised. Certainly pre-COVID, some things are organised, there's a change of venue on the day, which is no good when you're travelling into London. But I've certainly enjoyed the lecture content. Some of it's been first rate. For Radiotherapy Physics, we're lucky enough to attend our specialist modules are taught at the Royal Institute of Cancer Research, and some of the talks there are just incredible. Some real world-class speakers. and I'm grateful for the clinical scientists that give up their time to produce the lecture content.
Mm.
Basically, when I actually get there, it's great. Sometimes it's a little bit of a job to get myself going. Is that a fair response? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think I've spoken to quite a few people, and I think the information and education that we get is really interesting, but the organisation is just clunky.
Yes,
and I think,
exactly.
Yeah. It can leave you feeling just can leave you feeling like a little bit disheartened, I think, when you're putting in so much of your time and effort and things are just being hodgepodge together, I think.
Ad hoc, I think. Yeah.
Did you have to go to London a lot, or was it kind of done in blocks?
Fortunately, it was done in big blocks. So for me, all of the academic stuff at the beginning, there was sort of a 3-month period where it was purely London based. I would have liked the specialist modules to have been done entirely online. Obviously, a lot of it's been done online because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But even before that, when you're not based in London, it would be nice to have the option to be able to do your academic and teaching components from home. Obviously, that's all on the cards now.
Yeah.
Perhaps there is a silver lining.
Yeah. It might change things, hopefully for the better.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed. So, what was like your favourite bit of the programme then?
Gosh, if I had to pick one favourite bit, can I have a few?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to go to the Advanced Radiotherapy Summer School at Christie as part of my training, and that was just awesome. The Christie is kind of I think it's the biggest radiotherapy centre in the whole of Europe. It's a real world leader in terms of radiotherapy. The whole world looks to what the Christie's doing. And I had a tour of the LINAC when I was up there, and a really great academic discussion about the cutting edge radiotherapy techniques, and lots of oncology as well. It was really a multidisciplinary team thing. It was lots of collaboration between radiographers, physicists, and oncologists.
Yeah.
So that was just a and I've also been lucky enough to participate in get involved in kind of national lung dosimetry audits, which is a bit of a mouthful, but there's the kind of thing, all the rage in radiotherapy at the moment is stereotactic ablative body radiotherapy, which is super high doses for lung cancer. But in order to deliver that, you need to get credentialed, and we did that here at Ipswich, and we passed it with flying colours. And it was really nice to be involved in that team, and to be sort of doing the checking and delivery of that assessment. So that was a nice example of teamwork. I've also, because of my interest in MR, I've done a couple of talks for the department on the basics of magnetic resonance imaging physics. I very much enjoyed doing that. To be honest, there's not been too much that I haven't enjoyed.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm full of it.
Yeah. That's so nice though, especially when you put in so much time and effort into something to look back and have enjoyed it all. It's really nice.
Yeah.
What advice then would you give to someone that's thinking of applying or has applied this year actually?
Yeah. So with your interview, take a deep breath and be true to yourself. All right, you got this. And once you're actually in the program, just really like own it. Just take every opportunity to feedback. The training is yours, and make the most of it, because it goes fast. And right up as you go as well. That's a good thing. Try, even if you don't do it in full form, just smash some rude notes and some rudimentary notes.
Yeah.
You can remember what you did.
Yeah.
Take photos where you can. Obviously, no patient data, but take photos and chip away at it. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and I think you'll enjoy it. There's some really great. You get to watch some cool people do some really amazing stuff. So make the most of it.
Yeah. It's such a good opportunity to just learn, because you're like supernumerary. So you're just able to kind of sit back and get involved and just learn.
You've always got that safety net of someone more senior is responsible for what you do.
Yeah.
So obviously you don't abuse it, but
Yeah.
make the most of that. The training wheels are on at the moment, so immerse yourself and enjoy it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, and I hope the rest of your dis and the IAC and everything goes well.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
That's all right. And yeah, have a nice rest of the day in the sunshine.